Create 5 random cards in hands. They cost 0 and are fleeting. Holy shit! And here we go. Nautilus reveal. This is it. Nautilus is here. When I level up, copy toss. Oh, it's toss synergy. Oh god. That's so cool. I love this already. He's a 0-12 tough. What a fucking chonker. Toss 4. Oh yeah. This is really cool. New keyword deep. +3/+3 once your deck has 15 or fewer cards. So if you toss a ton, some of your cards just get really, really big. So this is a different payoff for self-toss. It's just a different way of paying it off. Whereas Maokai is like a game closer. Sea Monster allies cost 4 less when he's leveled. And he gets 13 attack, which is really funny. PLATEWYRM egg. If I'm tossed, draw me instead. Oh, what? Okay, this is getting crazy, dude. This is really nuts. Summon a bunch of sea monsters. I'm gonna have to rewatch this. There's too much going on.
I will not rest.
Holy shit. Okay, that's pretty big. That's pretty big. So Maokai's opener is just a 7 mana 0-12. When I level up, copy tossed allies that cost 4+ into your deck. I don't even so basically when he levels up, anything that got tossed that copies 4+ allies go back into your deck, so your deck size increases? That's weird. And it basically just turns you into good. It makes you never mill yourself, because he levels up when you go down to 15 cards, and then once that happens, you are then putting tossed allies that cost 4+ or more back into your deck, and then you're top decking from power cards that are going to be discounted by Nautilus's effect if they're sea monsters. So you want to toss, you want to build your deck around like sea monsters, you want to toss them, they're like expensive cards, then you get them back later with Nautilus, and they're discounted, as well as just good top decks in endgame. Okay. Holy shit. Oh, that's really cool. So let's actually see what these cards are. So here's something called RIPTIDE. This could be his champ card, it could not be. Stun an enemy, shuffle that unit into the enemy's deck if there's an ally Nautilus. They basically, it's sort of like a Will of Ionia. Wow. 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 What? What? So it's like a Will of Ionia. It doesn't go back to their hand, it just goes back into the deck if there's Nautilus. But Nautilus is like really late. He only comes out at like 7. You could treat him out with something like Thresh. It wouldn't be bad. It's very, very possible you could build the deck with Thresh and Nautilus and skip the Maokai. Or maybe some ratioing. You could see something like that, maybe. Because Thresh wants, like, expensive champs to pull out. So, there could be something there. RIPTIDE is just going to be a stun otherwise. It's just kind of like an expensive Steel Tempest, maybe. Jettison is just 1 mana burst, toss 4. This card's probably not going to be good enough. Even in a toss synergy deck, you would expect that a card, you want this kind of effect attached to a body, but if the synergy payoff is high enough, you could see it. Dredgers, when I'm summoned to toss 3, yeah, something like this is just a little bit better, right? Like, if you want to toss, you're usually not going to want to toss so badly that you run a card that does nothing else. We'll see, though. You can play it on turn 1. It's a great counter to something like Rearguard. It's not really like what stall decks want to do, though. You'd rather have like Horny Toad. The Beast Below, 4/4/4 deep, and it's a sea monster, which is a new tag, and it's just basically Nautilus synergy gets sea monsters. So it's a 4 mana 4/4. It's like a kind of worse Elnuck, but honestly, a 4 mana 4/4 isn't even that bad. It's very playable. When your deck has hit 15 units or lower, 15 cards or lower, your deep things all immediately for the rest of the game become +3/+3, right? And this will get reshuffled back into your deck. It'll be a 7/7 at 4 mana, but Nautilus will make it 0 mana. So that's a 0 mana 7/7 at the stage of the game. Now the question is, why would you care about the mana discount that late? You usually wouldn't. Shipwreck Hoarder. So this is a 7 mana 7/5. When I'm summoned, toss 2 and shuffle 2 treasures into your deck. And this is also deep, so it also gets bigger if you have kind of like gotten to that stage. When your Nautilus is flipped, this one actually cares more for the mana discount. It'll be 3 mana, which could be nice. Salvage, toss 2, draw 2. So there's been kind of a meme in Runeterra where like every card game has like a 3 mana draw 2. It's kind of felt weird that there isn't a 3 mana draw 2. This one's a 4 mana draw 2. It's not bad. I think this will actually be a card that is very competitively playable. I think there's a lot of ways to use this. It's a little expensive, but spells in general are a little expensive in Runeterra, and a large part of that is because of spell mana, of course. So Salvage is pretty decent. I think this is probably a card that will see a good bit of play. And of course, if you are in the market for a draw 2 in a game with very little draw power, then you will run this outside of your toss synergy, right? That's kind of the most important thing. So that's pretty good. And it lowers deck size by 4. Yeah, it lowers deck size by 4 as well. So this is kind of all the combo pieces that they're showing for Nautilus, right? And I need to actually, oh no, wait. Oh yeah, there's this third one. Treasure Trove. So these are these different treasures? Yeah, these are all labeled as treasures except for this card. So Treasure Trove, apparently Sea Monster will toss a random, will create a random treasure. And presumably these are tokens that are, as far as we can tell, only summoned by Shipwreck Hoarder. Presumably there will be other ways to access treasures other than this one card, but that's the only one we've seen so far. So Treasure Trove, if it's tossed, it gets drawn. Create 5 random cards in hands. They cost 0 and are fleeting. Holy shit! Okay. Holy, this is fucking crazy. That's really insane. So if you shuffle this in, and if you toss this, you basically have a gigantic payoff. Hearthstone? This is like a very Hearthstone effect. If it does cost 5 mana to play, and it's slow, which means I guess it's kind of deniable, but it's going to be hard to counter in other ways. They cost 0 and are fleeting. So the question is, how early can you get these treasures in your deck? This one is, if I'm tossed, draw me instead, deal 5 to all units. So it's 5 damage slow, deals 5 to everything. It's just kind of like a big board nuke. That can be pretty strong. I think that's probably on average going to be less strong. There's a lot of situations where you're not necessarily going to be able to find value out of that. PLATEWYRM Egg. If I'm tossed, draw me instead. Summon 3 vicious PLATEWYRMs. And PLATEWYRM is a card that you can't main deck. This is only, there's no gem, this is only accessible off of that card, which is, this is a fearsome deep card that costs 5 as a sea monster. It's a 5/5/5 fearsome deep. So deep means once your deck has gone to 15 or below, it's permanently an 8/8. Basically, they're just big stat lines. Now, stat sticks in the late game are usually not going to be that important. But obviously, I mean, with this treasure, when you get like 3 8/8 fearsomes, that's pretty good. So the question is, how soon can you get these treasures? I believe that Shipwreck Hoarder is the only way we've seen, right? Which means, and there's probably at least one other way. But what that means is you will be able to play the sea monster on 7. Your deck is gonna be short at this point in time. You're gonna be on like a 15 card deck if you've been tossing. So it might already have deep on the 7, and you can potentially ramp into this too. And if it's not deep already, it'll trigger the deep with its toss too when I'm summoned. Oh god, it's a summon effect. Oh Jesus, it's not a play effect. It's a summon effect. So you can really cheat this out. And Shadow Isles is the other region with it's the other region with toss synergy. So you can use like Chronicler of Ruin on this to cheat it out early. That's pretty big. Or sorry, I misspoke. Not cheat it out early. You can use Oblivious Islander. I got ahead of myself one sentence. But you can use Chronicler of Ruin to reuse this ability. That's really important. Missed Call too. Yeah, potentially Missed Call. Spectral Maiden. Yeah, you could use Spectral Maiden for sure. I could see that. So yeah, Shipwreck Hoarder. This is gonna be kind of like one of the defining cards. It's like once you play this, you've got 2 really big bombs in your deck. The thing is, if your Nautilus is leveling up at the same time, which it often is if you have the Nautilus, then it's gonna be really hard to not draw the treasure, but either draw or toss into it. because it shuffles a bunch of units back into your deck. Copy tossed allies that cost 4+ into your deck. Well, I mean, it means you can more easily draw Hoarder post Nautilus, but if you do Hoarder and then Nautilus, or if you're not shuffling Hoarders back in, it kind of like loses that idea. Doesn't aggro fuck this idea? Yeah, this is a very, very slow deck. This is a very, very slow deck. This is kind of the slow play for Bilgewater. Like, we've seen Bilgewater just be tempo driven so far, but they have this entire package that's going to allow them to just like, not necessarily slow down the game. They'll probably have to combine with a region that gives them access to tools to slow down the game. So the question is, how do you build a toss deck, man? Do you run, like, you could run both Maokai and Nautilus. That would almost certainly be overkill. Thresh plus Nautilus would be a bit better, but Nautilus is a very, very slow card. And without seeing what... There's going to be at least one other card that puts treasures into the deck, almost certainly. And without seeing what that is, probably several. Probably like, there's probably going to be 3 or 4 cards that interact with treasures at least. And until we see what those are, it's hard to evaluate the idea of treasures. And the value of these treasure cards is going to be largely determining the value of this toss archetype. Because tossing is a great way to get into the treasures, right? Salvage is the best card ever printed, and you'll never change my mind. Oh, just the draw 2. Yeah, draw 2 is pretty good. Draw 2 is pretty good. Not Thoughts TLDR. It's 7 mana, which is really expensive. It has a stat line which is like somewhat redundant. It has a lot of potential to combine with Shadow Isles, and probably not Freljord, but maybe kind of Freljord. There's a lot of synergy points with Shadow Isles. This is payoff. It's top end payoff, and Shadow Isles has the slowdown. As far as we know, Bilgewater's actually probably not going to have very much slowdown. So to be able to make it to your late game, you will need the slowdown of Shadow Isles, then combined with the top end kind of finisher of like the Nautilus package. You could double down on the toss energy and run both Nautilus and Maokai, and that's how early decks will work. Thanks for supporting the stream, Mercurn. That's how early decks will work, because like early deck building is kind of like Control F deck building. You'll see a lot of people just put every card that says the word toss in, and then they'll start cutting a lot of ones that are probably weaker. That's going to be probably Dredgers. I don't think is going to make the cut, and almost certainly not Jettison, unless there's some like very, very weird combos, or unless the power level of some of this is actually crazy high enough, which I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be. The deck's going to be interesting. It is going to be very, very interesting. The treasures are going to do quite a lot, but yeah, it's very, very, very slow payoff. So depending on like how the meta is, it might be a little too slow to be viable. You need to be able to like speed it up, right? And that's going to be hard. That's going to be really, really hard, because these are already like committal turn 7 plays, like Hoarder and Nautilus. You can get them out a little early with something like Islander. You can use Islander on Hoarder into like, you know, Missed Call. That being said, I don't know. I'm not sure how good Islander is as a card. I thought that card was a lot better for like ramp options, but it has a hard time hitting decks. So I don't know if I feel like that that combo can be good enough. Nautilus seems like super control, which seems gated by Ezreal ending the game before Nautilus outvalues you. Yeah, it's not just Ezreal, but it's other things that are going to end the game faster. Like even something like Sejuani's ship ends the game faster, right? Like that's going to end the game pretty fast. Where is that? Tusk Raider. Yeah. Even something like War Mother's Call. Even War Mother's Call might end the game faster. It's like, which is crazy. They're probably going to be at a fairly similar speed. I don't know. I don't expect Nautilus to be flipping pre 10 very much. The thing is, like, Shipwreck Hoarder, you're like, let's say you draw it on like 8 or whatever. For the treasures to be your payoff, it's like you shuffle them in, and then you're diluting your draws with Nautilus, and then like you have to draw into the treasures later. Like that is potentially really, really, really slow to try to get the full value out of that card. Really, 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 really slow. But if the meta allows for slow decks, then this kind of thing can be very powerful, for sure. For sure. Okay.